All right, Shigeru Ban, a very interesting architect because he also had and has social concerns. And I think not too many architects today, I mean, there is a group of architects with explicit social concerns, but those usually ignore the aesthetical concerns. And then you had the hedonists, or you had the so-called artists who do interesting, aesthetically speaking, works, but they don't have social interests. Shigeru Ban has both. He is both an architect in the sense of someone who, again, to come back to that one, makes an aesthetical statement. It's important that it's not just a statement, but an aesthetical statement, but also has and maybe will have, hopefully, humanitarian concerns. And for this, I think he has to be applauded. And he was applauded. Now, the thing is, something, okay. So this is the man, born in 1955. And so Shigeru Ban, no, actually 1957, is a Japanese, so he was born today, August 5th, is a Japanese architect known for his innovative work with paper, but not as someone who does graphic works on it. You'll understand, particularly recycled cardboard tubes used to quickly and efficiently house disaster victims. He was profiled by Time magazine in their projection of 21st century innovators in the field of architecture and design. In 2014, Shigeru Ban was named the 37th recipient of the Pritzker Architecture Prize, the most prestigious prize in modern architecture. The Pritzker jury cited Ban for his innovative use of material and his dedication to humanitarian efforts around the world, calling him a committed teacher who is not only a role model for younger generation, but also an inspiration. Anyway, these are words of journalists, in a sense. So this is the man. Yeah. Now, I'm not sure, I mean, there are pictures with him where you can see him working, together with, so-called common people. But I'm not so sure he is so modest. But let's see, maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Here he is. And I like this very much. I mean, I like this architect who, together with people who are not architects, work together, and particularly in this kind of work. He seems to be more convincing to me than, let's say, Calatrava, who depicted himself, manufacturing concrete. No, here, plus this kind of work, I mean, he is giving an example to the people who look at him how to do something. And again, I think this is very noble. And I trust him in this in this position, in this role. This is a bridge he built. We are going to look more images of this. He's very famous now. Of course, he's one of these Japanese who moved the world of architecture, but not only of architecture. And because of his humanitarian interests, I think he has additional credentials. This is his brick, so to speak. He actually works with this, unbelievable material. It's these tubes, which are made of paper, essentially, and he uses them even to build a church in New Zealand. And we are going to see it again and again. Why are these Japanese so innovative and in a way restless, but in a good sense of the word? I think we should ask ourselves this question and feel challenged, because I think it's important to feel challenged by by people who, again, I come back to that so-called statement, who make a statement. Anyway, Shigeru Ban unveils beautiful cardboard pavilion at Abu Dhabi Art Fair. Now, I don't know if it's so beautiful, but it is made of cardboard. I mean, of tubes of cardboard, my opinion is not so beautiful. I mean, let's tell the truth, but it's okay. It was built by cardboards. The truth is, in my opinion, I mean, I admire him for his humanitarian concerns and his actions. I do admire him. I do admire him for some works, but not all his works are actually as brilliant as they are advertised by the lovers of scandal, which are the journalists. Because the journalists need to make a scandal, or something very hype or hyper from anything, because that's what they do. They sell statements. Hello, Bogdan. This thing is maybe its main quality is the fact that it's made of these tubes, but on the other hand, maybe this is also its deficiency, because I don't know. I mean, he transformed. Plus, let us not forget, paper is made of cut down trees. So, just like Kengo Kuma, another Japanese architect, you could look at it in a different way. Are we advocating cutting down more trees in order to make cardboard tubes, in order to build with them whatever? But it's true. As an architect, what can you do? You want to build, and you have to build with something. And perhaps the best sustainable architecture is an architecture which is not built. So the best way to be sustainable is to abstain from building. But it seems human beings cannot do that. We have to build and build and build until we cover the earth, until we suffocate the earth with our buildings. And then, thanks to Elon Musk and others like him, we can take the space shuttle and go to Mars or to some other planet, to cover that planet also with our restlessness, meaning with buildings and other things, garbage included. But let's not be too pessimistic. But it is something. I mean, you look at this man who is a high priest of architecture. He is even dressed like a high priest. And then, he shows to us this tube with the same mystical reverence that, for example, Steve Jobs was introducing a new gadget at some kind of convention with great, technocrats in Silicon Valley or who knows where. It's something a little bit, I don't know. I mean, when Frank Lloyd Wright was expressing his reverence for the brick, and not just him, Louis Kahn as well. But I do think it's a difference between a brick and a fragment, a chopped off, a fragment of a paper tube. I do think it's a difference. First of all, the brick is made of earth. It's clay. This is essentially, this tube is an assassinated tree transformed into it. If we can somehow see in this tube the assassinated tree, maybe we would look at it differently. But there is a fetishization here that worries me a little bit. Yes, there is ingenuity in what he tries to do and what he did, but I think we have to look at it a little bit both ways, if possible. Anyway, the Aspen Art Museum This work I like. I like the front elevation because I mean, it's a Cartesian building, but you can see through it. It's like a veil, a Cartesian veil. And I do believe Shigeru Ban is actually maybe not sufficiently free man. He is. We'll see other works by him. He can be convincingly playful, but only until a certain stage. Here, I like the fact that he uses, you know, a prismatic building, a rectangular facade, but behind it, you see something else, and there is a certain ambiguity, which I like very much. Otherwise, the building is not very, you know, it's not very big to begin with. I also like the fact that he uses weaving, the veil, as I call it, maybe not quite appropriately, is actually woven. And I like weaving in architecture. And you can see it is a textile work in a way. It is woven from wood. Otherwise, of course, the building, as I said, it's Cartesian. It's a box, but he is able to fragment it and to make it more sensitive because of this weaving. In a strange way, perhaps, I like more this architecture than the architecture where he is actually mimicking organic forms and so on. But who knows? I have to think more about this. This is what he says. I believe that the material doesn't need to be strong to be used to build a strong structure. The strength of the structure has nothing to do with the strength of the material. This is very interesting. And it might be that it is true what he says. So let's read again. I believe, just a second, there is here. Okay, so I go back to, yeah. I believe that the material doesn't need to be strong to be used to build a strong structure. Well, what he seems to say is that you can build a strong whole from parts which in themselves are not strong. And I think this is true also at the level of human relationships. You can have, let's say, two partners in a relationship that, I mean, by themselves, maybe they have certain weaknesses, so to speak, like all of us, but together they form a stronger unity, a stronger whole. And this, I think we should talk about more, because in a way, maybe the strength of Japan is based on this. You know, there are individuals who in themselves maybe are not very strong, but because they are united, there is a great collective consciousness, they become very strong. And by the same token, we Romanians are very weak. And we are weak because we are not united. We have individual qualities, maybe, you know, at least as equal with, you know, other people. But because we are not united and we have great difficulties to unite. For example, I went to Vienna with architecture students, and we left the dorm 20 people. In 10-15 minutes of the 20 people, we remained 16. In other 15 minutes, 12. And in 45 minutes or 1 hour, just 6. As opposed to the Japanese, who I saw them in Vienna. We don't need to be aligned like they are, but for them would have been inconceivable to leave a group, even without explanation. Simply leave the group. This is how Romanians are. We don't have, you know, the consciousness of a group. of belonging to a group. That's why we cannot achieve that strong structure that Shigeru Ban talks about, which can be strong even if the material used is not strong. And he continues by saying the strength of the structure has nothing to do with the strength of the material. This is very important what he says, and I believe it is true. And if we could understand what he says here and apply to our own lives, maybe we could arrive at different results, so to speak. Anyway, this is another, so he uses a material, either wood or a wood plate, or the paper, the cardboard pole, and he creates such structures which seem to be almost miraculous. Yeah. Now, bridge, the golf club, it's called Nine Bridges. The golf club in, I don't know where this is. It's not in Japan, or is it? I know they love golf in Japan. Anyway, it's a good work. To me, it's a little bit too literal, the resemblance to Gothic structures, but this was done also by Calatrava, it's done by other people. Personally, I would stay away from reproducing, literally resemblances of, such, distinctive structures that were built many centuries ago. There is a risk here, but anyway, that's what he did. And it has elegance. It has, it is, interesting, and it looks good. But I don't think the level of creativity is at its highest here. Not to speak about the fact that this is a golf club. So to inspire yourself from the Gothic cathedrals for a golf club, to me, is a little bit, again, problematic, I mean, anyway. Even here, the usage of the wood has decorative qualities, and it's well built and well used, but it's not, it's not very surprising, or I'm not very moved by what I see in this particular case. Here, yes, you have the reflection of the structure, and you can take nice pictures. But again, this is a golf club, and the reference to the great Gothic architecture could be a little bit problematic, in my opinion, for this kind of function. Why? Because in the Gothic cathedral, the columns and the nervature, I mean, there were approximations of the forest. In a way, it was a forest of columns, and the enclosure at the top had an almost explicit reference to the great texture work or textile work done by God himself. It's the the unity of nature, the conjunction of the efforts of many trees to embrace each other, to meet at the top, and it's a metaphor for the unity of life, and the unity of the world, and the unity of creation. But here it's a golf club, really. And anyway, Tamedia office building, Shigeru Ban, he finalized, I think, his work. But this presentation I prepared 1 or 2 years ago, it was not yet done. Here again, personally, I am a little bit bothered by, so this is an office building in Zurich. It's not a temple in Kyoto. And I don't know. I think there is a demagogical level here, which bothers me. You know, is this a sustainable architecture? I don't think it is. There is so much wood being used here, meaning cut down trees, and then you have, you know, then the pros of the function. It's an office building where maybe, you know, speculative money transactions take place. And then you have this staircase, which is metal. And I don't think the work is as pure as it claims. There is a level of rhetoric here that bothers me. He didn't have to use wood for this, but for some reason he did. I think this, I mean, I admire the Japanese, as you know by now, but I have also problems with Kengokuma. He uses wood all the time, you know, so much wood, even for Starbucks. He covers a banal Starbucks cafe with wood and wood and wood and wood. And wait a minute, Mr. Kengokuma, you are cutting down forests and trees in order to glorify Starbucks. Is it right? I personally don't think so. On the other hand, the way the wood is manufactured is cut, is designed, is very, you know, sleek and mechanical, and I don't know. I'm not seduced by this. I confess. The art of joining, which is so developed in all Japan, here is only mimicked, because it's not really a joining in that superior sense that the Japanese, the ancient Japanese built their temples. Here, it's still something very mechanical, and it could have been done with any other material. It didn't have to be wood, just as here there is no wood. So I think there is a level of rhetoric here which turns me off to express myself in a non-academic way. And look at the paradoxes. We have this metallic machine showing the prowess of our time, you know, being involved in building a building which appears to be nobly and modestly made of wood. I somehow find it, you know, it's like using this kind of thing to build you know, a hut made of bamboo or whatever. It's plus, again, this is Zurich, you know, it's a, you know, an affluent Western city. And anyway, this is my opinion. I think he would have been more honest if he built in this way than rhetorically in wood here. Now, if he wanted to build a temple, maybe, but even then, I'm not sure. Well, please don't misunderstand me. I am supposed to pay homage to Shigeru Ban, but I think maybe the best way to pay homage is one that is inspired by Cordelia Lear, the daughter of King Lear in Shakespeare's play, who loved his father so much, her father so much, that she had the courage to tell him the truth, which was not always very pleasant. And unfortunately, the king misunderstood her. He thought she didn't love him, and he banished her. And only at the end of the tragedy, he realized the mistake he made, because it was her who actually loved him. But exactly because she loved him, she told him the truth. And the other two sisters she had, the other two daughters that the King Lear had, were just using sweet words, you know, consoling the father, only telling him pleasantries and so on, but they were fake. So what I'm trying to say is, if I pay homage to Shigeru Ban, I don't have to just caress him with the glorious, you know, affirmation. I think actually, like Nietzsche said, your best friend is your worst enemy. It's exactly because I consider him seriously that I feel obliged to to speak about him in terms of my truth, which again might not be the truth, but it's the way I think and feel. If he was here, I hope, I don't know, I hope I would have been able to talk the same way in front of him. So, you know, I look at this wood and it's something that I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but is this really affection for wood? I'm not sure it is. Plus, I mean, did he listen to the essence of wood, to the essence of the tree that this wood came from? Because this is manufactured, you know, with a slick design that somehow is not really inspired by what a tree is. It's too designed, in my opinion. Now, this is a work, La Scène Musicale. It's again a work for me a little problematic that he built in France. That's what I say, that this man, I admire him the most for the work he did for those in need, for his humanitarian concerns. But when he goes out of that domain, I think he shows in a way either his other side or maybe his true side. He's not very modest. I mean, look at this building. This is not the building of someone who has great compassion for immigrants and the poor of the world and so on. You know, he's actually serving here the high capitalism in inflated in forms, and he didn't have to do it, but he did it. And so, would you think that this work is modest? I don't think it is. Just as his office building in Zurich, it's not the architectural work of someone who is modest, and it's rather commercial, actually. That's how I see it. The architecture in itself doesn't strike me as being that cultural fact that Raluca mentioned architecture is, and architecture is just that. But this, and surprisingly, this is supposed to serve a cultural function. But paradoxically, even if it is serving a cultural function, to me, it doesn't qualify to be truly called culture or a cultural fact. It's too, in my opinion, it's too commercial. Not to speak about the resemblance of a building by Calatrava here, which we saw when I presented Calatrava a few days ago. What is this thing here? You know, I mean, is he still thinking of the many poor of the world when he does this? I don't think he is. So anyway, I hope I'm wrong. But look at it, you know, is this the ship of culture? I mean, if I compare it with Teatro del Mundo of Aldo Rossi, which was, you know, a modest structure floating, you know, on the canals of Venice, if I compare it with this is a monster. This is a big thing, and it's celebrating what? Is it celebrating spirit? Is it celebrating culture? Or is it just celebrating the power of a certain institution and the demagogy of our time, which thinks it can do anything? I don't know. This is a work that I don't admire very much. If I admire a lot Shigeru Ban, is for what he did for those in need, and will arrive at those works. There, yes. But here, no. No, just as in the case of the office building in Zurich. As he's serving high capitalism, just like everybody else, or almost everybody else. And he's, you know, a star architect who is, you know, commissioned by the powerful to build so-called powerful buildings. But a powerful building, in fact, I am going to use his own words. A powerful building is not made necessarily of powerful materials. And here I see somehow a building which, as opposed to what Alvar Aalto said, that architecture belongs to culture, not to civilization. Here I see a building which belongs to civilization, but not to culture. Even though, again, paradoxically, this is destined for music. But to me, it doesn't have a very musical spirit. I am sorry. It could have been anything. The Nomadic Museum in Tokyo. This I like. You know, he made of, these containers a building that is, I think, even though temporary, I think it's interesting and convincing. And it doesn't, I mean, it's used with these modules, the containers, and I think it works. It's more interesting actually than the buildings behind it, which are, you know, so-called permanent and most surely more expensive. So yes, here it is an example that with little money or with less money, you can do interesting things. This could have been even a temple or a church, you know, and its facade, its main facade, if I can call it so, this one would accommodate even such a function. And the interior itself is convincing. It's powerful. It has rhythm. It has strength. It has everything it needs to be convincing as architecture. So this work by Shigeru Ban, I welcome and I applaud, as opposed to the previous work. So this was done in Tokyo, but we'll see other things also in Mexico, and this one, the Nomadic Museum in Mexico. I think it's brilliant. You know, I mean, you know, it's done with simple means, but it has power. You know, this is I don't know anything actually about Mexico City, but I imagine these buildings around it are important buildings, and this is an important square. What Shigeru Ban built here is fresh, is young in spirit, is also genuine. It's built with sincerity, and I think this kind of architecture, even if it's not so-called permanent, but then what is permanent? Even the pyramids in Egypt are not really permanent. Nothing is permanent in this world, except perhaps, as someone said in a whimsical way, what is temporary. I like this in Mexico City. And look how it is built. Look at the foundations. You know, it's almost, you know, a Dada. You know, it's very nice. And, you know, it's almost an architecture, you know, in the sense Cedric Price gave to this work. An architecture meaning non-architecture, but also anarchic architecture. It's a good work. Here, yes, and yes, you see these people here. What are they? You know, immigrants or whatever. This also I love, because I think architecture should leave the domain of the rich and the powerful, and address everybody. And I would say, firstly, those in need. And you know, I love this picture. You know, we have an innovative structure built by an innovative architect, and the building is populated by people who maybe some of them don't even know to read and write, maybe. And maybe they don't have a lot to eat, or who knows, you know. But this this is really about connecting. You have a high class architect, and then you have, you know, the poor of the world, and they shake hands. They, in a way, it's about the oneness of the world. I really like very much this. For this, yes, for such a work, I would have myself offered him the Pritzker Prize with great pleasure. Because it's a democratic architecture, it's a humanitarian architecture, it is aesthetically engaging, it's done not with the highest budget, and you can see it gathers many people. So it has the force of a social coagulant, and this is, I think, excellent. And even the flowers, I like to imagine, are happy. Good work, Shigeru Ban. I take my hat off in front of you, in front of this work. It's almost non-architecture in a strange way, but you know, opposites attract. When architecture seems to disappear, it actually could bloom in brilliant ways. Look at this, you know. Anybody has. I mean, we have such containers all over the world. In a way, they are like the bricks that Frank Lloyd Wright loved to work with. You know, you can use such a container the way Frank Lloyd Wright, to paraphrase Frank Lloyd Wright, you could say, give me a container and I will transform it in its equivalent in gold. Centre Pompidou, Metz. Now, this is a work which is acceptable. It's another Centre Georges Pompidou, but not in Paris, which was built by Renzo Piano and Sir Richard Rogers and the brilliant engineer Peter Rice, but by Shigeru Ban in Metz. It's good, although the dialectics between the prismatic part of the building and the more organic roofing is a little bit too easy to decipher. In fact, the word decipher perhaps is not appropriate because it's not so mysterious, but it's a good building all in all. If I am to give him or give him a grade for this building, risking of being accused of being, you know, I don't know how to describe myself in this case. I think it's somewhere between an 8 and a 9. But it is okay. It is an okay building. It's many people work now with this kind of roofs, and you know, and even with wood. He uses wood here again. It's okay. I think it's okay. I personally like more the previous work, which maybe is not so spectacular apparently, but in my opinion, it's closer to being culture, although it appears not to be cultural. This is what I hope to be able to say. True culture, in my opinion, doesn't have necessarily the appearance of being cultural. This somehow connects with my reticence vis-a-vis the sweet wording of certain people. That sweet wording is too sweet to actually convey that sense of truth that architecture is indeed about culture. That's why the building that we just saw before this one, to me, is more cultural than this one. Although at the level of function, this should be more cultural because it's a museum, right? But and it's, you know, even the flamboyance of the forms would say, well, look at me, you know, I'm about art, I'm about culture, I'm about high ends. But this is exactly what seduces me less. Anyway, it's still a good building, you know. It's a good building, but not very special, actually. The curtain wall house. this is an interesting work because of the curtain, of course. If you remove the curtain, you get, you know, a modernistic structure, white and all the rest. But that huge curtain changes everything, you know. And again, we should admire the Japanese for being so experimental, so to speak, you know. Who in our country would accept something like this, you know, where you don't have, I mean, you know, two large facades of this building are actually enclosed by these, you know, restless curtains. So we look at the plan. Oh, what we have here and here are curtains, those large curtains, which in the wind become even more restless than they usually are. And, you know, it's also a metaphor for the fluidity of life that the rationalist and the strictly structural one refuses to acknowledge. You know, the building here on the left doesn't say anything about the wind or fluidity or, you know, unplanned, you know, events. But this curtain, this curtain is, you know, making fun in a way of the morose seriousness of this building, but also of its own, because again, what is here is static and rigid. I love these curtains, you know. I think we need more people in the world who are like these curtains, you know, to problematize the great convictions of the stable ones. It's actually about instability, the virtue of instability. I love instabilities, you know, because life breathes through these instabilities, through the wind. You know, the wind is a god. Why don't we design a house for the wind? You know, in a school of architecture, how would you design the temple of wind, or the house of wind? You know, we don't think of such themes because we think they are irrelevant to life, but I think they are highly relevant. You know, yeah, design a house for the wind. How would you do it? I think in a way Shigeru Ban in this house, he did in this curtain wall, which is not really a wall. It's rather a curtain house. And implicitly, he's also thinking of and honoring the wind, like we see here, when these huge curtains are opened. But again, we have to admire the Japanese. I mean, this is Tokyo, and he built such a house. In Bucharest, nobody would accept such a house, nobody. Not even in the schools of architecture. This would be unacceptable. Well, Shigeru Ban, a Pritzker laureate, built it in one of the most sophisticated and you know, affluent cities of the world. The back of the building is different. You know, here is, what can we say? You know, a deja vu. But the curtain is doing something else. The house tubes. This I like again. Every time he is stepping down from the equestrial statue of the Pritzker Prize and approaches the needy of this world, I feel like embracing him. He's using his skill, maybe even his genius, to build houses for the most needy. And this is beautiful. Bravo to him. And it is architecture. These are very interesting, you know, aesthetically also, beyond the ethics of his gesture. Bravo to him. I have sympathy for such a man. And I also have sympathy for his so-called clients, you know, who were born in underprivileged conditions, and an architect is thinking of them, and in a very convincing way. I would live myself in such a house gladly, not to speak about you know, the seductiveness of the bicycles, which I would gladly use. Now, after the earthquake in Christ Church, is an important city in New Zealand. I don't even know if it's not the capital. And the cathedral, the existing cathedral, was damaged severely. Shigeru Ban, either he was invited, or anyway, he rebuilt the cathedral, a temporary cathedral, with surprise, surprise, cardboard tubes. And here it is. This moves me also, because it is about, you know, offering his help for, you know, difficult situations. In this case, a city that lost its cathedral because of an earthquake. And so he's able to also build for the very poor, for the needy, for the immigrants of this world, the migrants, but also to build for a, you know, New Zealand is a well-to-do country. But the earthquake doesn't care about being well-to-do or not. Though the earthquake strikes, and the architect Shigeru Ban offers his services. Yes, this was built as a temporary cathedral, because to rebuild the damaged parts of the existing one would require a long time, because it was built with stone. And I hope I have images here. Now, this, what you see, this roofing is actually made with cardboard tubes, quite big. It works. So we see the damaged cathedral, old cathedral on the right, and you know, of course, to restore such a work, to rebuild it would require a great effort, just like the great effort now in Paris at Notre Dame. It's not easy you cannot do it in a few months. That's why they built a temporary church, which is this one by Shigeru Ban. And he inspired him, you know, for example, he uses references to the previous, in this sense, perhaps the statement by Augustin Yuan is correct, but this is only sometimes, you know, if you can connect with a previous entity or you know, building or story even, there is a chance that you are indeed working within a spiraling, continuing culture. I have to think more about this. Here he is, together with, and this is also very pleasant. Are we seeing the right thing here? A lady. She is the priest in this church. When are we going to see something like this in Romania, in our churches? Wow, you know, I'm now afraid that maybe the thunderbolt of God will strike me, you know, for being sacrilegious. Why? Why not? You know, why? The women are less entitled to sacrality than men? I come back to the biblical story that the woman was made from the bone of Adam. I don't believe this. You know, it's simply proof that the Bible was written by male theologians. No, the woman was not made from Adam's bone, in as much as, but who knows? What if someone would say, excuse me, Adam was made from Eva's bone? Anyway, I like this. We have a good architect and we have a good priestess. And I like the way she smiles. I don't know who the person on the left is, maybe, but it doesn't matter. It's the meeting between a Japanese and the New Zealand female priestess and or priest, and then it's really about unity between all of us, between spirit and non-spirit, meaning cardboard tubes and the cross and the history of the cross and this beautiful smiling of the priestess. And it's just a nice picture, I think. And I like the expression of the architect. You know, he's serious, he's sensitive, he's wondering, he's not arrogant. Bravo to him. And these are the, you know, these are the construction materials. The cathedral was made of them. More than 90 enormous 60 centimeters in diameter. 60 centimeters. This is quite something. 20 meter, the length, 20 meters. Cardboard tubes that form the church structure are protected by a polycarbonate roof above and a very solid concrete floor below. It's human ingenuity here at its best. You know, yeah, the cardboard tubes probably had that, you know, making, you know, the sacrificing of the trees. But what can we do? Some things we, you know, we have to sacrifice certain things sometimes. Well, what can we do? It's almost a predicament of human life. But I think what he did is good. You know, 90 enormous 60 centimeters in diameter, 20 meters long cardboard tubes that form the church structure. And they even look good, I think, at least in this picture. I think they look great. Bravo to them. On the right, the earthquake. On the left, rebirth. In a way, this is what art is, transgressing death. You see, he even used the golden ratio. So it's you know, the structure is not, you know, it's not as simplistic as it might appear at first. He also referred to the plan of the previous cathedral, you know, the church that was affected by the earthquake. Now, a garage center of contemporary culture, Gorky Park, Moscow. This one I don't like. I don't like this work. It's, I don't know. I mean, it's too round, but these columns are a little bit authoritarian because of the rhythmicity. And I don't know. I think he could have done better, but he didn't. So, besides the fact that those columns are made of cardboard tubes, I think there isn't really a lot to admire here. Except perhaps the playfulness of the word garage, the way it was made. Yeah, Mr. Shigeru Ban, let's see some other works by you. I don't really think this is one of your greatest works. not to speak about the fact that when you combine a metallic and a glass wall or structure with the cardboard columns, there seems to be some discrepancy here, even some kind of a cacophony. Architecture and humanitarian activities, Shigeru Ban. Yes, this was an exhibition, but here I don't really see so much references to his humanitarian work. Instead, we see the golf club, we see the office building in Zurich, and I don't know what this is. Anyway, paper emergency shelters in Rwanda, 1999. Yes, again. Yes, to this, yes. You know, some people might say this is not architecture or not yet architecture. I don't care. They needed shelters, and Shigeru Ban stepped in. Paper log house in Turkey. This is also a nice work. You know, I would live myself, as I said, gladly in such a thing built by Shigeru Ban. And these people, I'm sure they enjoy themselves. They needed these shelters, and I'm sure they appreciated his work. More than you know, the inflated rhetorical round building in Moscow. No, this. Yes to this one, yes. And yes to the builders. Look at them, the proud builders. All amateur, of course. They were not builders. They were not trained. But it doesn't matter. And they are united. Again, what we see here is exactly derived in a way from what he said, that you can have a strong structure built with weak materials. In a way, these people are weak. No, weak, like all of us, you know, our individuality. We are perishable and weak. But together, they were a force. They build these things together. Bravo to them. Look at them. Do you see the, you know, the base for the building? They're just these containers. Why not? France, 2005. Again, building for the underprivileged. These buildings, they are a little bit more architecture, so to speak, than what we saw previously. But why not? They are okay. I personally like more the tents and those for refugees than this. But again, it's important that he did such a work for the needy. The cultural center in Malhaus, this is not, what you are going to see now is not Shigeru Ban. That is a very interesting French architect, of whose existence I knew nothing, Paul Le Kernec, who did a very interesting building, cultural, that is, in the very town where Shigeru Ban built these, you know, row houses. This is the architect. He even looks okay. So let's see his name again, Paul Le Kernec. And this is the work. Surprise, surprise. In that town with underprivileged people. Why not? Why shouldn't we bring culture in its more non-conventional forms to the underprivileged, as Paul did, and I'm happy he did. It's a nice building. Again, this is not by Shigeru Ban, but it's a good work, in my opinion. I salute it. And look at the plan. It's interesting. It has distortions, it has conflict, it has truth, in other words, because life is never placid. It's like this. It has duality. Bravo to Paul. Maybe I should search for other works by this architect. And of course, you know my affection for diagonals. Well, yes, the diagonal means life most of the time. And the interior has courageous chromatics. What I see here is what I would like to see more often. Architecture as an adventure. That's what it is. The building of the building is an adventure. The conception of the building is an adventure. And maybe the usage of the building is an adventure. Culture itself is or should be an adventure. I think that's the architect, or I'm not sure. Anyway, it's a strange picture. Someone defying gravity here. Is it him? Maybe yes, maybe not. Whatever, but it's an interesting building. Maybe the whitish parts less, but the colored ones, yes. How did he arrive there? I don't know. Or here. I found these pictures, so I couldn't, ignore them. It looks nice even during construction, I would say. Hello, Mr. Shigeru Ban. Yeah. Chair by him with his signature cardboard poles or tubes. Now this is a villa. This is a work again. I go back and forth. Some works I like, some works like these giant buildings. You know, this is a villa, but I think it lacks the intimacy of a home, of a house. It's too big. It's too. I don't know. I could have been a Congress hall or something. You know, if you look at these pictures, you wouldn't say it's a house, not even a villa. It's too big. Anyway, he built it. Strangely, sometimes I don't know if this was built in Japan, but in Japan there are sometimes, big houses like this. Although Japan is known for having, great density, and there are many people on a limited available land. Look at this. I mean, look at the other houses and look at this. Does this look to you like a house? If I see this community of buildings, I would say this is probably a communal center or something with a public function and dimension. I wouldn't think this is another house. But anyway, paper church in Kobe, another paper church. This is in Japan. And I think it moves. It can be, dismantled and rebuilt somewhere else. The typical cardboard tubes. Now this is a building which I think was finalized. The Swatch and Omega headquarters were, of course, in Switzerland, and here we are. This is just a project, but we see the same Shigeru Ban here using wood, and there are resemblances to his Pompidou Center in Metz. I don't know. I mean, these works, again, to me, they are not, for me personally, they are not his best, although they might be the largest. But there is a level of flamboyance here which doesn't exalt me. Particularly when we think about the client, no, I mean watchmakers. You know, wow, what is to celebrate here so much? You know? I think today everyone in this world has at least 3, 5, 7 sources of time measurement. You know, it's incredible. We have them on our phones, we have them on our laptops, we have them in the shop windows, we have them everywhere. You know, it's too much time measuring, really. I think we need less watches in the world, not more. There are too many watches, really. Much too many. Anyway, and you make a reptile, you know, an architectural reptile of this, as if, I don't know. Again, in my opinion, this architecture belongs to civilization, but not to culture, or not sufficiently to culture. Anyway, it's a project, but I think they finalized it. Of course, the Swiss are very efficient. They have the money, and they can build this. They built for Rolex, the building done by Kazuyo Sejima. Not that it is bad, but it is emphasizing a gloriousness that is misleading a little bit, you know. A watch is an instrument that, you know, you have it on your wrist and that's it, you know. You don't have to build a monument for watches, I think. Again, so much wood being employed here. Anyway. So you ask yourself, what is the meaning of this? You know, yes, it looks interesting. The structure is interesting, but what is the connection with the Swatch and Omega, really? What is it? So he's a little bit mundane here, in my opinion. I mean, because this is a kind of architecture that is done by other people in the present, very similar. So he wins. Well, we already saw this the Cité Musicale. I don't insist on it. You know my opinion about it. I don't know why this project is here at the end. This one, I guess this is kind of an aide-memoire at the end of the presentation, the incredible cardboard cathedral that we saw. I don't know if it's incredible, but it was built. At the Venice Biennial, this is also an interesting work because he used eyeshadow containers. I mean, these are not the containers that we saw in Mexico, you know, these are the small boxes that, you know, make up things like eyeshadows, I don't know how they are called, shadowing devices or whatever. They came in little boxes and he built this thing out of them. You know, he's good at this, to employ as a unit instead of a brick, some kind of you know, entity device. So that's what he built here. From I hope I have a detail so we can see it better. Yeah, you see it. We see the, of course, the Pompidou Center in Metz. Now, House Vision 2016 in Tokyo. We saw yesterday the project that was built by Fujimoto, and maybe you remember, here it is. Here is Fujimoto, and this was done by Shigeru Ban. I don't know. I mean, that's what he proposed for the house of tomorrow. Paper emergency shelter in Haiti, 2010. And here he is. I really like this, you know. I am not very skillful at this sort of thing at all, but I admire someone like him who, together with people whose names we do not know, build these things. I think this is very beautiful because it's about unity, no? About being human and, you know, doing useful things for those who need them. And I like his expression. He's like a child. He's like them, you know, he's young. And he's not on a pedestal. Container, this is Onagawa, 2007, when a powerful earthquake devastated the Japanese town of Onagawa. Shigeru Ban was quick to design and install temporary disaster relief housing built from paper tubes, of course, and shipping containers. The lightweight, affordable, and clean design provided fast relief to the earthquake survivors while simultaneously lifting spirits with its dignified design. Now, I don't know if it's very dignified, the design, but it was useful that he built these things. And I think they were moved afterwards to some other needy place. Again, the social concerns of this architect need to be admired and appreciated, respected. He doesn't build penthouses for the rich and famous. Yes, he indulged a few times, you know, for big companies, but I think this is his best contribution to human life and even to human culture, yes. This is the power of Japan. The people are united. We could do also wonders if we are united, but unfortunately we are not, and certainly not at this degree now. And I think they live the longest exactly because they are united like this. And look what they had to struggle with. You know, tragedy. This one we saw. I don't know why this is here. We already saw a bridge over the Gardon River in France. We saw a picture of it in another display of paper structural might. Shigeru Ban transformed cardboard tubes and recycled paper plastic composite into a bridge spanning the Gardon River in southern France. The temporary masterpiece was created out of 281 cardboard tubes and was strong enough to support 20 people at a time. And here he is on his own bridge. Nice bridge. And what is this? Anyway, here I show some of his works. This one, I don't understand why in this presentation certain things show up twice, but Sri Lanka, this one we didn't see anyway. Villa, I'm rushing a little bit because we still have to talk about Shin Takamatsu. This one we saw, and I said what I had to say. I guess here it's also a chronology, which I didn't have initially. And I think I will end this presentation on Shigeru Ban with something that I actually saw myself in Venice in 2016. He actually only helped a Korean designer, a South Korean designer, and here she is, here they are together. He helped her. It was an installation. I'm not very sure. I'm not very sure. I think it was about a transitional space between South and North Korea that she designed, and he helped her with the architectural part. Here they are with Aravena. So here is the South Korean designer. Here is Shigeru Ban, and here is the architect from Chile, who was the director of this biennial in 2016. And this is the work. I have been there. Maybe there isn't much to say besides what you see. It's an installation within. It was an installation within the biennial. These biennials are not very sustainable. I mean, there are huge amounts of money spent on them, and they are temporary. Of course, they last for a few months, but I guess humankind needs them. This is a project, I don't know if he built it, the Mount Fuji World Heritage Center. I think when he leaves the domain of temporary structures for the needy, he becomes a little bit, I don't know, rhetorical. But we all have limits, don't we? And there we see in the background the great Mount Fuji that someone like Hokusai represented magnificently, and of course not just him. That's it. So now I go to the second presentation today, and that is Shin Takamatsu, who didn't receive the Pritzker Prize, but his work as a young architect or a younger architect is very, very unique. Shin Takamatsu. Unfortunately, what he does now is less interesting. Maybe he had difficulties to get commissions with his very idiosyncratic works, and then as he grew older, he became more and more like the others. But we are going to see his buildings that made him distinctly Shin Takamatsu. So it is his birthday today. He's older than Shigeru Ban. I think he's 72 or 73, while Shigeru Ban is 60, I don't know, 62, 63, something like this, born in 1957. Okay, so this is Shin Takamatsu. He doesn't look too happy here, but maybe also because he kind of betrayed his own soul. I don't show his newer works because there's nothing brilliant about them, but I show his older works, which are very interesting. I mean, look at this. This is a project, but his architecture is like this. It's very, almost alarmingly, futuristic and even cosmical somehow. Like, for example, this is a dental clinic, if you can believe it. But if you also could believe it, it's called the Pharaoh Dental Clinic. What does the dental clinic have to do with the pharaohs? Well, look at this. Now, personally, I would be a little bit afraid to go into such a dental clinic. It looks, I don't know, like I don't know, incineration place or something. It's. I mean, what about these implants here? But we have to do so. We do have to say it. It's a unique space and a unique building, but it is almost frighteningly so. A dental clinic, Japan. They build anything. Look at this. Now, of course, dentists make a lot of money, so a dentist afforded, or a group of dentists afforded this clinic. It's probably the most original dental clinic in the world. And I think he did another one. I'm not sure. But anyway, his early works are like this, and they will shock you. Just wait a few more minutes. Shin Takamatsu, Japan. This is a drawing of a building that we are going to see. And even the drawing is very well done, the rendering, and this was not done with computers. At that time, it was manual drawing. Very well crafted, the drawing graphically. Again, the dental clinic. Quite heroic. It could have been anything. Maybe Bernard Tschumi was right. Form follows fiction. This building, if I told you, or if I told myself that this building is, I don't know, an artist studio or a factory or even some kind of a, subversively religious building, I could have believed it. Maybe more than that it is a dental clinic. Shin Takamatsu. Why is it that the Japanese can build anything? Why? I don't understand. They don't have advisory boards and committees who approve or disapprove the building of buildings. They can build anything. And look at the drawing. It's exquisite. This is for another building. The Koboku showroom in Kyoto. Look at this. Shin Takamatsu. It's true, these buildings were built when the golden age of the Renaissance of Japan happened. Late 60s, 70s, like around that time, the 80s already came in with postmodernism and things began to become shaky, but still they had so much contributed to the world of architecture and culture in general, and of course to economy and technology. Japan in those years, 60s, 70s, it was incredible. Then also, I would say Tadao Ando built his best works. The first works by Tadao Ando, in my opinion, were his best works. Edificio Arc in Kyoto. Look at this. I don't know exactly what the function of this building is, but you cannot ignore it, really. It's a machinery, it's a mechanism, it's intricate, it's complex, it's regular at the same time, it's rhythmical, maybe a little bit militaristic, it's true, thus a little bit frightening. It was built just as he drew it. What is this thing here? I don't know. I don't know, but look at the drawing and look at the building, the same. How do they do it, these Japanese? I mean, everything here is, crafted for this particular, I mean, it's amazing, how they do these things. Shin Takamatsu. And they love bikes, and I'm so happy they do. And I'm also very happy. I read today that the president of Romania went to the political, palace by bicycle. I think this is. I salute the fact that the president of Romania biked to work. Of course, there was a certain level of rhetoric there too, but we need something like this instead of a grouping of black Mercedes and motorcycles and all the rest. Now, the president of Romania, just like the prime minister of Sweden or the mayor of London, went to work on a bike. And I'm happy to report that also the leader of the University of Architecture, Ilse Moiceanu, also sometimes comes to work on a bike. This is excellent. I think we need, the more we bike, the better. I don't know if Shin Takamatsu biked to work, but it doesn't matter. Look, another building by Shin Takamatsu, a very interesting building as well. What is this? I received an announcement that the participants can see now the screen. Well, I hope they were seeing the screen all the time, not just now. I really hate this update from Zoom. They ruined a good work with their update. But the building, this one by Takamatsu, also is intriguing and interesting and idiosyncratic. And again, the bicycles at the base of the building. Good. Well, there is also a van. What can we do? Edificio origin 103. He built 2 buildings in Kyoto like this, very medieval-like in a way, and also modern, and with all kinds of intricate details and mechanical, surreally so almost. Interesting architecture. This man at that time did something very, original. Maybe too much so somehow. But his buildings still stand out. This one is another eccentric building by Shin Takamatsu. And not this one, of course, but this one. Look how he crafted the entrance into the building. You almost feel like kneeling, or I don't know, you feel like entering into some kind of a sacred space here. A unique architect, but too bad, as I said, lately he is doing works that are not even worth mentioning. Truly in total opposition to what he was doing at the beginning. Yes, these are strange, I agree. These are strange buildings. but they represent a world, a vision. You might like it or you might not like it, but they have personality. Look at this. It's like, you know, an alien architecture. And a fragment of an old building on the left in the foreground. And the drawing for the building. Incredible, the similarity between the drawing, even the spirit of the drawing and the built work. Architecture sub, also work by Shin Takamatsu. Very eccentric. Omura Beauty College. Look at this. Again, you might like it or you might not like it, but this is a building that stands out. As Bogdan would say, quoting, it's a statement. Maybe too much in this case. Extremely free are these Japanese, you know, they build anything. And they build so well. And some drawings by Shin Takamatsu. We already saw some. This was a book, Architecture Nothingness. This is an interesting title, not just for the philosopher, but for all of us. Architecture and Nothingness. I don't know exactly why this title or subtitle to the work of Shin Takamatsu, but maybe we can think about it. Kyoto, Japan, 1990, Syntax, another building by him. We saw a drawing of it. Now we see the built building. It's kind of an arts and crafts, but in Japan, I mean, everything is crafted, you know, every single detail is crafted very, very well and built accordingly. Look at the drawing and look at the building. And I don't know if I should show you this now. I wanted to, maybe yes, maybe not, some works that some are not by him, but somehow related to what we already saw. Yeah, quickly, just a few works that are done in Japan, not by Shin Takamatsu, but showing somehow the incredible diversity, variety of Japanese architecture. 1990, say Watanabe. Again, they build anything goes. And look how it is crafted. As you think, This was made by God, with an unbelievable scrupulousness. Everything is controlled and every detail is perfectly conceived, drawn, and built. Ushina, Finlay, 1994. They have all kinds of things. I'm not sure. This is an interesting architect, Masaharu Takasaki. Look, he builds astronomical edifices, very, exotic, flamboyantly so, but, they are observatories. This one we saw, Syntax by Shin Takamatsu. Again, Masaharu Takasaki, a kindergarten. Nice. Why should a kindergarten be a depressive, banal building, right? To depress children from an early age, that's why. Watanabe, 1997, a museum. And these are architects we don't talk about, even Shin Takamatsu, we don't talk about him, but spiking out of the undulating base around the building, a field of illuminated cilia wave in the breeze. I don't know what this is. Again, another Japanese extravaganza. Communication and Recreation Plaza by Takasaki Masaharu. Again, look at this. They are unstoppable. They can build anything, and they do. So you saw examples of some other works by other architects, somehow relating to Shin Takamatsu. Subway station designed by, say, Watanabe. Look at this subway station. Does it look like a subway station? It doesn't. But in Japan, all expectations are disregarded and perplexed. Fujimori, 2010. Well, anyway, here I stop because Terunobu Fujimori is a different kind of architect, and I don't want to confuse you. So we remain with Shin Takamatsu and Shigeru Ban. And I thank you for being here today.